Good morning and welcome to our test review on Chapter 12. I'm going to start off with inverse variation. Inverse variation is a situation in which y varies inversely with x, and as x increases, y decreases. We're going to use the product rule to help us find the missing x or the missing y. And the product rule states x1 times y1 equals x2 times y2. Please remember this is a review. If you have a problem with a particular lesson, please go back onto YouTube and watch each lesson as it has been posted. So our first problem is, if y equals negative 7 when x equals 3, find y when x equals negative 3. I write my product rule. I plug in 3 for x1, negative 7 for y1. I'm trying to find y2, and x2 is negative 3. So this becomes 3 times negative 7 equals negative 3 times y2. Negative 21 equals negative 3 times y2. Divide each side by negative 3, and the missing y is what, guys? Positive 7. So you have a couple of those on your test, okay? Probably like 3. Find dealing with inverse variation. Okay, that's 12.1. Inverse variation. 12.2. Rational expressions. A rational expression is an algebraic fraction whose numerator and denominator are polynomials. There were two concepts we learned in 12.2. Find the excluded values. The excluded values only deal with the denominator. If the denominator is not factored in, you must factor it and then zipper it. Okay. So here's an example. Find the excluded values of x plus 7 over x minus 7. So we take the denominator of x minus 7. We set it equal to 0. We add 7 to each side, and the excluded value would be x equals 7. Remember, an excluded value is any value of a variable that makes the denominator equal to 0, and division by 0 is undefined. So if this if this x was equal to 7, that would make my denominator equal to 0. Let's try one where you have to factor. How about 4n minus 28 over n squared minus 49? I refer you for all your factoring needs to Chapter 8. There was an excellent flow chart and some rules and regs that we gave you at the end of those notes, which will be extremely helpful. My denominator is n squared minus 49. It is the difference of squares, which means it will factor as n plus 7 times n minus 7. I zipper it, and when I solve it, I'm going to get two solutions this time instead of one, negative 7 and positive 7. The second concept that we learned in 12.2 was simplifying a rational expression. Something like this: 12a over 48a cubed. That is your original expression. I highly recommend it. Prime factor the numerator, prime factor the denominator, and simplify. So it would look like this. 12 factors, 12a factors is 2 times 2 times 3 times a. 48 factors as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 with 3 a's. And now I am ready to simplify by canceling. So I have 2 2s, 1 3, and an A, which means my whole numerator is gone. I do not put a 0 there. I put a 1, and my denominator is 4A squared. Does anyone have a question? Okay. How about if I want it to simplify something like this? P squared minus 8P plus 12 all over P minus 2. Let's factor the numerator, which would be an x factor. What multiplies to 12 and adds to negative 8, negative 6, and negative 2. So this would be P minus 6 times P minus 2 over P minus 2. Remember, I told you guys to put your expressions, when you have a binomial, I told you to put them in parentheses because that's going to help you remember that that binomial can only cancel if there's an identical twin in the numerator or denominator. The P minus 2's cancel, and your answer is P minus 6. 12.3. Multiplying rational expressions. Okay, so here's a simple problem. 6ab over a squared b squared times a squared over b squared. So that's my original expression. I'm going to prime factor. So this would be 2 times 3. Can we stop tapping, please? Thank you. And now we're ready to cancel. I highly recommend prime factoring for most people to use. It's going to save you a lot of mistakes, yes? So we have an A that's going to cancel with an A, a B that's going to cancel with a B, an A is going to cancel with an A over here. Does anybody see anything else that cancels? Hello? So my final answer here would be 6A over B cubed. Let's try one more. X plus 2 over x minus 4 times x minus 4 over x plus 2. The x plus 2's cancel. The x minus 4's cancel. And the answer, guys, is not 0, but it is 1. Are you with me? And then we'll do one more where you have to factor. 2n minus 8 over n plus 2 times 2n plus 4 over n minus 4. Top fraction, factor by taking out the greatest common factor, which is 2 times n minus 4 over n plus 2 times 2 times n plus 2 over n minus 4. The n minus 4's cancel, the n plus 2 cancels, and your answer is 2 times 2, or 4. Lesson 12.4. Lesson 12.4. Dividing rational expressions. Dividing rational expressions. 12ab over a squared b squared divided by b over a. So when you divide, to divide, remember, the division sign becomes a multiplication sign. Flip the second fraction, and remember to factor each numerator and denominator. So it's going to look like this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's rewrite it first, and then we'll factor it. This would be 12ab over a squared b squared times a over b. The divide became a multiplication, and I flipped the second fraction. Now I'm ready to prime factor. (12ab) is 2 times 2 times 3 times a times b over a squared b squared, which is a times b times b times a over b. So we have an a and a b cancel over here. Where did that go? So sorry. Let's get it back. I apologize. We have an a and a b that cancel with an a and a b. We have an a here, cancels with an a. And we're left with 2 times 2 times 3, which is 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12, over b squared. Okay? Let's try another one where you have to do some, just an easy flip. M minus 5 over 8 divided by m minus 5 over 16. Again, we're dividing, so my division sign is going to become a multiplication sign. I'll go ahead and prime factor the 8 right now because that'll help me. Times 16 over m minus 5, which becomes m minus 5 over 2 times 2 times 2 times 16 prime factored is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, all over m minus 5. The m minus 5's cancel, 3 2's cancel with 3 2's, and your answer is 2. 12.5, dividing polynomials. So let's take it nice and easy, and here we go. 4r squared minus 12r divided by 2r will become 4r squared over 2r minus 12r over 2r. So we're going to prime factor the first fraction as 2 times 2 times r, all over 2 times r, minus 2 times 2 times 3 times r over 2 times r. Now we are ready to go ahead and to see if we can cancel anything out. In our first fraction, we can cancel a 2 and an r. In the second fraction, we can cancel a 2 and an r. And our answer is 2r minus 6. 2r minus 6. All right, let's try one where we have a trinomial. X cubed plus 2x squared minus x divided by x. Again, when you have a binomial or a trinomial divided by a monomial, you take each term and put it over what you're dividing by, which in this case is x. Now we prime factor each numerator and denominator. And now we're ready to cancel. I do want to make a comment here. I want to remind everyone that anything divided by itself equals 1. So 5 over 5 is 1, 6 over 6 is 1, x plus 5 over x plus 5 is 1. And you're going to see what I mean by that in a minute. In our first fraction, the x's cancel, which leaves you, which leaves you x times x, or x squared. In the second fraction, an x on top and x on bottom cancel, which leaves you with 2 times x, or 2x. And in the third fraction, anything divided by itself equals 1. Equals 1. And then the last one we'll do will be b squared plus 7b plus 12 divided by b plus 3. So the first thing we want to do is, this might help to rewrite it, and then we want to factor the numerator. To factor the numerator, it's a trinomial, we will x factor. What multiplies to 12 and adds to 7, 3, and 4. And we have b plus 3 times b plus 4 all over b plus 3. The b plus 3's cancel, and your answer is b plus 4. And our last section that'll be covered on the test will be 12.6, adding and subtracting, if my pen will work, I apologize, rational expressions with like denominators. So if we wanted to say 5n over 15 plus 7n over 15. The rule is you keep the denominator, and in this case we're adding the two numerators, which is 5n plus 7n, which gives me a 12n over 15. Now we have to be careful because we have to see if we can reduce. And if you're not sure, go ahead and prime factor it. 12 prime factors is 2 times 2 times 3 times n. 15 factors as 3 times 5. The 3's cancel, and your final answer is 4n over 5. Let's try another one. Let's do an easy one here. Let's try this. 1/8 plus 3/8. My denominator is 8. My numerator is 1 plus 3, or 4 over 8, which we all know reduces to 1/2. So guys, you have to reduce. Okay, we have to reduce. Let's try m minus 8 over 2 plus m plus 4 over 2. So our denominator is going to be 2, and we're going to write m minus 8 plus m plus 4. Now we're looking for like terms. M plus m gives me 2m. A negative 8 plus 4 gives me a minus 4 all over 2. So I'm going to give you an asterisk here. You must factor the numerator. And the only way you can factor two terms with a minus sign is, number one, is it the difference of two squares, which in this case it's not. So in this case, you have to take out the GCF. And so 2m minus 4, your GCF will go here. You have two blanks. To find the greatest common factor, and I made an error there, so let me just fix it. I put an extra 2, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so this top 2m factors as 2 times 2, as 2 times m, and 4 factors as 2 times 2. So my GCF here, or 2m minus 4, will factor as 2 times m minus 2 all over 2. And you can see that the 2's cancel, and your answer is m minus 2. Let's try this problem. Negative 7f over 3 plus 9f over 3. So we're going to add negative 7f plus 9f over 3, and we get 2f over 3. Let's just be careful what happens when we subtract. So let me do one with subtraction for you guys. How about if I have 3 over a minus 5 over a becomes 3 minus 5 over a, or negative 2 over a. Then let's try one where we have a negative sign in front of a term. So we'll do 3x plus 2 over x minus 2 minus 4x over x minus 2. So we rewrite the numerator as 3x plus 2 minus 4x all over x minus 2. And 3x minus 4x gives me a negative x plus 2 over x minus 2. Negative x plus 2 over x minus 2. We're not going to deal with inverse denominators in Algebra 1, so in Algebra 1, your answer can be left like this. Well, that concludes our review for today. I do have to make a statement. I sincerely apologize because I had caffeine, which I never do, and so I know I went extremely quickly. I hope that this review is helpful for you. Please remember that for the test, you need to know the definition. So make sure you know inverse variation, excluded values, rational expressions, and if Mrs. Rains or myself mention anything else, then please make sure you know them as well. For Algebra 1, your test is 30 questions, 18 are multiple choice, and the rest are free response. For honors, your test is 30 free response. Have a blessed weekend, guys. Thanks for listening.